Hi everyone, we are going to talk about some textile testing methods today that's used in the industry to make sure that we offer our customers good quality clothing that won't fall apart, that will get through washing without falling apart, and a few other things. So we're going to work on these testing samples throughout this module that you'll be working on. But one I wanted to show you in person is crocking, because we're using a kind of a pencil instead of a $10,000 Martindale machine. And this is something that it's kind of hard to explain, so I'm going to show you and it'll make your lab much easier. The lab you'll be pulling is color fastness to crocking, and it's listed in the module, and you can run your copy of it and then put your samples on to this piece of paper here. There's an area to put your sample, and then just a plain piece of white fabric here. So most of you have a piece of muslin from your sewing classes. If you don't, if you want to take, if you've got an old t-shirt and you want to cut a piece of white t-shirt off there, you're welcome to do that. Or if you have like a little sleepy shirt, don't cut it up, just use a corner of it, and we're going to do our crocking test on that. And eventually it will wash out if you put a little spray and wash on it. So I've got my sample piece here of the plain white that I'm going to see if some of my material will, the dyes will come off on this. That's a negative. We don't want that to happen. And I brought this fabric here to show you. It's a piece that years ago when I worked in the industry, it was a little sundress that we created for the department store. And it was all hand dyed in India. Well, that was back when we didn't think too much of what went down the river, but whatever color we were doing, the river in this province in India would look that color. So guess what this would be on the day we were creating our dress fabric. If you were here, you could feel this has kind of a crunchy feel to it. That crunch in here is all the leftover dye. So when we did our dye lab and I washed that, our little fabric strip, to get the excess dye out, that hasn't been done here. And that's one of the processes that creates a little bit extra cost when we're creating garments. And so inexpensive manufacturers often don't rinse their fabric. Well, if it's 100% in cotton, all of the excess dye is going to come off of this in your washing machine, on the couch, in your car. It's going to come off everywhere you go. So we want to make sure that our dyes are color fast, that they don't come off. And we're going to test our fabrics before we actually go to production. So what I would check when I would be out looking for particular fabrics, I would get the fabric that's going to manufacturing. I would take my handy dandy pencil eraser and I would use that to do a simple crocking test. Now the machine that does this is very advanced, and it does it with a mechanical range. It has a special numerical value so you can tell how many rotations. But I just needed to do this because in a few seconds you'll be able to see if this particular fabric is going to rub off. In fact, I might use a piece here, this little crunchy piece, and we'll see if it comes off as fast as I think it will. So you just wrap it around and hold it with your fingers, and then hold your white fabric or your t-shirt kind of taut or tight here, and then just rub back and forth. And I'm just rubbing maybe about 15 times, and look at this. You can see where that dye in just a few seconds has rubbed off onto this fabric. Think about if you put this fabric with a jacket over it, what would happen to the inside of your jacket just from wearing it. So we want to make sure this doesn't happen in production, and we're going to test our fabrics before it goes to the manufacturing process. This costs a little more, but only up front. If we pass this fabric on to our customer, we'd get every piece back, and that would be a costly mistake. So here we go. Here's your crocking test, and it's pretty easy to do.